Hey everybody, this is Rydo. Let us get back to our quest here in Hearthstone. We need to get one mage victory, I suppose, or a hunter victory, and then 3 priest victories. We're ignoring mages and paladins because those are both at max level already, and priest is about at max level, which means we're going to be left with the shaman, the hunter, the warrior, the rogue, and the warlock.
Anduin versus
And
Rexa.
I think that's it. Maybe there's one more in there
Shall bring victory.
that we need to level up. It will take a while to get to that point where we've leveled everything up to 60. Now, if I get every character up to 60, that doesn't mean I can then rest on my laurels and stop playing Hearthstone. The only thing that could happen that would allow me to rest on my laurels, and that is a funny phrase. I probably should look up that phrase. I don't know what it means.
Greetings.
I could be using it totally wrong.
In the
But
light's name, in the light's name.
the only thing that could happen is I need to get all the cards. Once I have enough gold that I've unlocked all the cards, have 100%, 2 of every card, don't particularly feel the need to ever try to get a full gold collection, but it would be kind of cool. It would certainly scare a few people who would be playing this. Alright, so I probably killed these 2 with an explosive thing. Ah, no, just a barrel. Alright, well.
Face the light.
Let's see. Do I end my turn now, or do I let it attack me? Let's just let it attack me. Why not? That really wasn't the option. The option was, do I end my turn now, or do I attack it?
Get in there and fight, maggot!
There we go. Oh man, if I could just have been a little bit further.
In the light's name. Face the light.
So we'll go ahead and kill this,
Face the
and
light.
go ahead and hit this guy in the face. I think that worked pretty well. Now I imagine he's gonna try and kill both my light ones at this juncture. I don't think he's happy with the setup. Interesting move. So the move here is to attack him in the face. I chose not to do that. Allow me to do that.
Embrace the void.
Job done.
Okay, it was a snipe. Alright, that works fine. But yeah, I suppose if I had all the
Get in there and
cards,
fight,
if
maggot!
I had 5,000 plus extra gold on top of that,
Don't worry.
I
love,
could
the cavalry's
just
here.
at that junction, yeah, I'm gonna try to start using that phrase, at that juncture, at that junction. Yeah, I'll try to use them both, and then I'll, instead of saying at that point, which I say all the time, and yes, I annoy myself as much as I'm sure I annoy anyone else.
Are you afraid of the dark?
But I could, if I got to that point, I could then stop releasing Hearthstone on dailies. It could be a situation where we would just play for a while to get our gold back up. When a new expansion came out, we would come out big, but then after that, we'd just stop.
Put this apple on your head.
I'm not sure they'd ever actually let me get to that point.
Fine.
Though I think they'll put the expansions out quick enough that it'll be difficult to reach that. Hearthstone is popular, it just doesn't get me views on the daily episodes. The big episodes, when I can put the grand tournament in the title. That gets me some popular searches. I have perhaps what I should do is every time there's a new expansion out, rename the TV series this series too. So since the grand tournament is out now, start calling this Hearthstone the grand tournament episode, same number. Or start over the numbering even. I don't know. I need to
I must consider.
heal. I can use it again when I do this. Oh yeah, sweet. That worked well. That worked rather well. That was a nice combination of cards I just played.
Don't worry, loves. The cavalry's here. He's trying to take me out. Let's try this. The damned stand ready.
Fine, I'll want.
Job done.
Still can't win. Well, can he? No, he can't. Not unless he can do
Well played.
one more damage, which he can. Darn it. Darn it, darn it, darn it. Oh well. So now we have to kind of question, what do we do when we hit the end of this recording? We've played 4 games or 5 games and we still haven't gotten all the victories. Do I go further? Do I make a 4th episode?
Versus
I guess I should.
Let's
That
the
would
hunt
make sense.
begin.
It would
I will hunt you
expand the
down.
Hearthstone recordings. Put us a day further. A lot of my recordings, it hasn't even turned to October yet, but a lot of my recordings are already into January
Job's done.
as far as being scheduled. So October, November, December, 3 months done. no real problem with that, really. If we get far enough ahead, if I have all of this scheduled, I can certainly reschedule things. It's not a terrible burden to go back and reschedule a series and say, you know what, instead just have this come out on the weekends, or have this come out instead, just release it all now. That's what I did with Portal. It was probably a good idea. I think I would not just release everything, but I might consider it. If I have everything, if I've played every game I've played and I've done everything I want to do, then we can set that up. I can focus on new games only. Oh, there was this. I'm not gonna mention the guy's name because I don't remember his name mostly, but one of the YouTubers, he bought a capture card. Yeah, capture card. It was called the Elegante. Just a device that you would need to capture video from things like a PlayStation, Xbox One, iPad, things like that. And so it's supposed to be his unboxing and reveal of this card. And he first, like, the third sentence out of his mouth is, "This is not a supported post or anything." Now, I don't know what in his mind a supported or sponsored post. Yeah, he said sponsored post. He said, "This isn't a sponsored post or anything." And I'm like, I don't know what in his mind sponsored means. But then he goes and tells the story of how he got this card. He goes, well, I live in Bulgaria, so that probably will tell you exactly who he is if you find out which mine cracker, because he's a mine cracker, is the one that lives in Bulgaria. So I'm naming names but not naming names because I forgot his name, which one he is. I don't want to say the wrong one. So he goes, I live in Bulgaria, they don't deliver to Bulgaria. Alright, totally legitimate, makes sense. So I called them up and said, is there any way you could just mail one to me? Which probably is some violation of custom tax or import taxes in Bulgaria, but whatever. That's not relevant to the story at all. And I'm sure if there is restrictive imports and export taxes in Bulgaria that people cheat them all the time by having things married. There's certainly, China does that all the time. If you order something from China in the United States, they say they're giving it to you as a gift. And then you're like, no, wait a minute, no you're not, I bought this from you. Why are you saying that? And it's because they don't want to pay the taxes on it. And heck, it's China's laws that the Chinese people are violating, so I don't think they can hold an American against that, but maybe not visit China just in case. I don't think I'd want to visit China anyways. But, so he says, he calls the people and the guy says, I'll just give it to you. Wait a minute. Woo, 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 woo. That's me making an alarm sound. And not just being retarded, but slightly being retarded. Sorry if I use the R word. I don't think you're supposed to anymore. But I'm using it against myself, so. Big flashing red lights, sirens going off in my head. Wait a minute, the guy gave you the thing. That is sponsored. You got a free capture card.
The beast's so big.
And what did the guy say when he gave it to him? He said, oh, I'll give it to you, just mention it on your channel. Wait a minute, no, that absolutely is sponsored. He gave you something on the grounds, on the demand that you mention it. You are 100% putting a sponsored post up. This would not pass the Federal Trade Commission test at all. You can't just say, oh, by the way, this isn't a sponsored video, but Apple gave me this iPhone 6 for free on the condition that I showed it off and said nice things about it on my channel. But it's not a sponsored video. If you're gonna do sponsored videos, do sponsored videos. Just don't lie to your audience. Or lie to yourself, it seems like. Or go look up what the phrase sponsored video means. You were sponsored. You were paid. You were given something of value on the condition of showing it off on your channel of influence.
By fang and claw.
It would be no different if I got it. It would be no different if Bill Gates got it for free. That's all sponsored. You would, I mean, I don't know what he's trying to do. There is, if it's not sponsored in your mind, it's certainly paid product placement. But it's sponsored too. Wow. So I don't know. I stopped watching after that. I'm like, well, I don't even know if the Eleganti capture card is good or not. But right now, I don't feel like I want to find out through this avenue. I am kind of looking for a capture box. I'm not sure if I'd want it to actually go through a PC and capture that way. I'm not sure if that is really the right way to do it in my mind. Let's see. This.
By fang and claw.
Yeah, I think we've got this fine, as long as he can't do 11 damage to my face. But, I mean, what ridiculousness. You got it for free. I'm getting free games left and right through PC Magazine. They're not talking to me directly. They're just doing a sweepstakes where all you have to do is put in your email and you get free games. And honestly, none of these games look like they've ever been on my radar, so they're probably all very cheap bad games. But I'm getting these Steam keys. I'm putting them in a category in my library, and it just says free games, because I am certainly going to make sure to say right at the beginning, here's a game I got for free. It may even start to become a series. It also is getting categorized as free games because none of those are really on my radar. Not games that I really even want to play.
I move quickly.
The only one I've covered so far that was free and actually cost money to other people, generally speaking, was Scribble Space. And again, that was just a contest type thing. And I started following him because I like to follow the really small people on Twitter. I'll follow the big people and mute them. Like, if it's EA or Activision, I don't need to see their Twitter, their 100 tweets a day, just hyping up their games. I'll get that information anyways, without following that. But if it's a guy that makes one game, and he's the only guy talking about his game, then I want to follow him. And one of the guy that made Scribble Space is saying he thinks Scribble Space is actually going to make it to like the Wii U. I think that's what he said. I'm like, wow, that's surprising. And his next project is actually going. He's working on a Unity-based card game. Well, you know what this is that we're looking at right now? A card game programmed in Unity. So it's a little ambitious if he's going to get to the level of Hearthstone, and I seriously doubt he will. But he'll probably learn a lot from it. So I like to think that these type of people are up-and-comers, and I don't know what his name is. It's some weird long name, I think, but I think he might be an up-and-comer, and I definitely want to get in on the ground floor of up-and-comer game programmers. A lot of the big names in video game programming these days have gotten pushed to being legend status or just management status. A Gabe Newell type people that aren't really programming games. I mean, look how fast a Notch went from being a video game programmer up and comer to legend status. I mean, he did it in almost less than one game because Minecraft's probably not even finished. So he made Minecraft, became super famous, became super rich, and now he's kind of doesn't want to ever become a big video game programmer. He just wanted to do small independent things, which is fine, but sometimes the world disagrees on what you are. It sucks. So the video game industry used to be all about the single programmer being the rock star of making a game, or it would be the programmer is completely unworth mentioning, like Atari games before the NES very much didn't even have credits in the game. So there's stories of people putting Easter eggs in games that just had their names of who made it. But pretty much the NES level and after that, most programmers are at least credited. Maybe they're not made to be the heroes that some of them are. Depends on the game, depends on how many people worked on it. If somebody is one of a team of 100 on of a video game, I guess they can't really expect that. Let's see, can we do this?
I must consider. Fine, I'll
have to
heal.
do this.
Hit the lights.
Yeah, if you're one programmer of 100, you're not going to be made the rock star as much as if you are the main guy who makes and writes and directs Metal Gear Solid or Silent Hill and all of that. And oh yeah, and right now the SAG thing has just started, so if new things potentially may have happened that I'm not aware of, but SAG-AFTRA, the union that follows the voice actors, has voted for authorization to strike in their negotiations with video game companies ? I don't know who they're really negotiating with, because it's not like there's only one company. So I don't know if they're negotiating inherently with all of EA and all of Square Enix and all of Nintendo and all of Microsoft and all of Sony. Is it just all one big group negotiation? Because that would be really weird if it was. Or if they just voted to always have the authorization to strike, and then if they did strike, it would be against whichever company would not agree to their terms. That is a big question, because I've heard people say SAG-AFTRA is negotiating with the video game companies, but they didn't say particularly which ones or how that all works. Basically, from what I've heard, they want a few things. They want the voice actors to get a bonus of a few $100 if a game sells over 1 million or so copies and up to 8 million copies. So I don't remember any of the names, but the way it sounded to me is that if the game went over 1 million, they'd get like $250 bonus. If they went to all the way up to 8 million copies, in total they would have been given potentially about maybe $1,000 to $1,200
In the
in
light's
bonuses.
name.
So hardly a significant amount of money. Now, of course, if you're one of the many people out there that don't ever get bonuses for anything, or if you're like most video game programmers that only get bonuses if the game gets rated 80% or more on Metacritic, which is a disgusting and ridiculous way to judge bonuses for people. It's so easily manipulated and so unscientific, that thought. If you're not getting any bonuses, I can see why people would be upset that the voice actors are getting a bonus and they weren't, but frankly, that argument is the only argument against any of what they're asking for, is that, well, why are they going to get something when I don't get something, which is just not the right way to think. If you're in a boat and somebody is, and there's a hole in the boat and you're sinking, and then you look over and a yard away is another person in a boat and there's a hole in their boat, and then they go, wait, I have a cork to stick in this hole, so they put a cork in their hole. You don't say, wait a minute, you don't get a cork, take that cork and throw it in the ocean, because if I'm sinking, so should you sink. No, you don't say that. You either say, I would like a cork so my boat doesn't sink, or you say, hey, maybe you could help me over here. Maybe I could jump in and borrow a ride.
Face the light.
And inherently, that is the problem with the programmers and anybody that's against it. It's like, well, yes, you are getting treated horribly, and yes, you need a union that would negotiate for you for things. I mean, I can make a list right now of what programmers need a union for. They need way better overtime pay. They need way better time management. They need not to be burned out. They need job assurance so they aren't fired immediately after the end. They need to be better credited at the game. They need to get bonuses if they meet specific goals on specific times, not if the game is rated in a random by video game critics to a certain level. It's not my job as a video game critic to lie to my viewers and tell them that the game is good just because I might know or feel sorry for the programmer and want them to get a bonus. That is absolutely that. And inherently what this is they need the management to not be paid as much as they are, because there is more money in the video game industry than there is in the movie industry. It's just getting funneled to the wrong places. And I think inherently what this problem is that companies are getting owned by shareholders, and the shareholders are taking all the money.
Face the light.
Which, that's just my speculation. So what else do they want? They want hazard pay if they have to scream or talk like a troll or something. Anything that would be considered voice damaging. They just want hazard pay there because that's their only that's their only skill, assumedly. So if you have them screaming for 8 to 16 hours a day and they can't work for the next month, or if they get polyps on their vocal cords and they can't ever work, I mean, that's not good. They just don't want to be burned out like the programmers are burned out when it comes to, well, you need to get this game that would honestly take 2 years to finish. You need to get it done in 6 months. They want to know the name of the game that they're working on when they're being hired. They want to be able to know the name and choose, and they want to know if their likenesses are gonna be used in advertising on top of the game, which maybe not. I don't know if that's really one, but the implication there is if they want to know if the name of the game is, if somebody paid me for voice acting, for example, and they just said, "Hello, my name is Rydo," and that was the only thing I got to, I'd be like, "Wait a minute, what's the name of this game? And what are you doing with this sample?" And then I'd be very curious. I'd want to know, and it would be very irritating if after I did that voice work, if 6 months down the line, a game came up that was called Everybody Hates Rydo, and it's just a pure-on slam fest. Although I'd probably think that's kind of funny, but I would be upset that if somebody was using my likeness against me, or my voice against me. So they just want to know what the name of the game is, and the threat that the voice actor is going to then divulge to the press that a game is coming out is there, but not realistic. And they want stunt coordinators to be present anytime they have to do a stunt. So a lot of times they're going for what they think is a voice acting gig only, and then all of a sudden they say, "All right, put on the mocap suit and jump on this thing while we record you," and they're like, "Wait a minute, where's the stunt coordinator? Why weren't we told about this?" I mean, you've significantly changed the thing of the deal. Honestly, in almost every state, I would think if you went for what you were told was a voice acting job, and you got there and it was putting on mocap and doing stunts, they have significantly, under unemployment rules, changed the duties of your job to the point where you could just quit and go get unemployment. But why would you want to do that? Much better to have a union say, "No, you can't significantly change the requirements of the job. You hired them to do one thing, that's the thing they would do," and they're not even asking for that. Really, they're just saying, "We want a stunt coordinator. We don't want to have somebody taking fake punches at us, because sometimes fake punches actually do land." And I think that's it. And then the game companies, whatever the game companies are, I'm not trying to be facetious there, I just don't know what the other negotiating parts want. A couple things which seem like ridiculous counter negotiation things. They want to be able to fine the employee $1,000 if they're unattentive or distracted, which completely unacceptable. That's not how jobs work. You do not ever get the ability as an employer to fine your worker. If anybody in any job ever does that, you need to quit immediately and refuse to pay, and then sue them for your final paycheck. Of course, you can't always do that. Oh man, I probably just lost, didn't I?
Feel my pain.
Nope. Hey. If that was the explosive shot. Oh, I did just lose. Oh man. Oops. That sucks. Oh, that sucks. So no, you don't ever get to find your thing on such a ridiculous and subjective thing as are they being distractive or unattentive. That's ridiculous. And then the other thing is they want to be able to find the agents of the workers if they feel that they're not sending people out to the good talent, basically, to certain casting calls, which is ridiculous too. Wait a minute. First of all, you never get to find the agents of your employees, and second of all, you don't get to find people because they quite probably didn't want to go to that casting call. Most actors of any sort, including voice actors, will go to every single casting call they can go to. That is all they do. That is their job when they don't have a job. It is very rare that somebody will say, no, I'm not going to a casting call. So it's a ridiculous thought in itself. But let's say there is some voice actor, and the fact that this is SAG after too is kind of questionable, because that inherently means they want to find the agent of Tom Cruise for not sending Tom Cruise out to do an independent video game. Sure, I'm sure Tom Cruise does not have time or interest in doing it, and I'm just picking Tom Cruise as a big name thing, or Harrison Ford, or that is where the comparison would come into. Is like, well, these agents aren't sending. Look at Bill Murray. Bill Murray talks to his agent allegedly only once a year. So they want to find Bill Murray's agent because Bill Murray doesn't talk to his agent or go to casting calls. That's really what it's getting to. Is they want the best of the best actors to come, and wait, that's not voice actors. I'm sure there would probably be some limit to that, but I think Troy Baker is a famous voice actor in video games. I've heard his name mentioned a lot, but yeah, he's not gonna go and voice act for some small thing if he's not interested, and that's his decision. There is no place in anywhere in the United States except for prison, which you have to work or you get thrown in solitary and potentially extended your sentence. But there is no other place besides prison where anyone is required to work at any job or apply to any job. Even unemployment doesn't tell you you have to apply to specific jobs. They just tell you have to apply to specific types of jobs and be actively searching a job for work. So I'm sure that's gonna sound to some ears like I'm very pro-union, but those are really ridiculous things. That sound like that they're just asking for ridiculous things so that they can counterbalance it. Maybe if the union is bad, which I don't think SAG-AFTRA is bad, maybe they will come out of these negotiations and everybody will get paid a little bit more, but they won't get hazard pay for their voices, or they will, or they something else that they're asking for they won't get. But if the union is bad, everybody will come at it. If the union is awful, which I seriously doubt that it's awful, they will go on strike so easily and readily, and
My fate is sealed.
and allow the door to open that they don't get any of their members' jobs ever again, and all the video game companies stop doing union jobs. And they internally destroy their own union. And if the union's good, they'll get almost all of what they're asking for, which doesn't seem like it's straight, really asking for that much. And hopefully they won't go on strike. Seriously, they don't. I was in a union, if it's not obvious. I was in a bad union, actually, so, and
How many fingers do you see?
I was in an awful union, let me put it this way. They literally only negotiated for pay raises, and they got them pay raises for 1 or 2 contracts that lasted 2 years, and by the 5th year, the entire office was just shut down. So they did nothing to improve the working conditions at all. And that's what all of those things are. Those are working condition things. Some states won't support you if you won't support you. Some states won't support unions at all, but some won't support unions if they're just going for increases in pay. So it is often the situation that they will ask for improvements on working conditions
This hurt?
instead,
My fate
which
is sealed.
is fine. Often you want the working conditions to be improved a lot more in any place. And inherently, you always have to remind yourself, if you are working in a job that has a union, you are probably working in a job that needed a union, which tells you that the management was really, really nasty to begin with. Because it takes a lot of extra work and a lot of extra effort to make a union. It doesn't just show up one day. And that was certainly the case for me. The company I was working for was horrible and nasty, and there was completely, blatantly obvious that there needed to be. Unfortunately, ours was terrible, run by idiots, and they got the entire office shut down through their incompetence. But, of course, the management certainly helped get the entire office shut down too. Ideally, for the people who are anti-union, you don't want to work in a job with union. Ideally, because if the management is fair and treats everyone nicely, and there isn't a groundswell of everybody feeling like they're being manipulated or abused, then unionization would never happen. The union would vote to disband itself if everybody's happy. It's only when people aren't happy that that stuff happens. That it needs to happen, and it does happen. I've thought to myself, if I get in a place that says they have a union, I may very well just turn around and walk out the door right then and there, because it's a major indicator to me. It's just like, well, this job's not for me then. I think I'm gonna hurt myself. Yeah, I am.
Fine, I'll won.
Feel my pain.
I would have won. Let's see. I still think I'm gonna win though. I think inherently the SAG-AFTRA thing will be fine. It probably won't even go to it. We don't want to certainly get to what is the beginning of the end of TV. Although the beginning of the end of TV really, in a lot of ways, has helped video games grow. When there was the writer's strike because of just some stubborn, ridiculous negotiations. Like the writers wanted to be paid for putting things on the internet, similar to for writing and making things on TV. And they were saying, no, that's just all promotional stuff you have to do on top of it for a much lower pay or free. Well, in the 2015 with YouTube, that is obviously a ridiculous thing, and it was a ridiculous thing even there. Work for work. It doesn't matter where it goes. If you paint a Picasso painting and hang it up in a gallery, it's the same if you hang that Picasso in a toilet. Work for work.
Fine, I'll one.
How many fingers do you see?
Stand ready.
There we go. So the writers, like in that, this is basically what happened to Heroes, which is ironically Heroes Reborn is out now. I don't know if it's gonna last well though, for very long. I think Heroes Reborn might get canceled pretty early, which would kind of be a shame, but you know, they lost their opportunity to grab the world after the writer's strike because now there's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and there's all the Marvel movies, and I'm not sure there's enough interest in superhero shows for the one show that had a bunch of superheroes nobody had heard about before to survive, which is what the Heroes was. It was all the fun of Marvel and DC shows with none of the recognizable characters, which in itself might be good. Anyways, the writer's strike happened right after about season 1 of Heroes, which was a really good season, and season 2 and 3 was all written by non-union writers, which they were pretty bad. And a lot of other shows, but Heroes is my example, didn't get put into production. A lot of other shows fell in quality, and there was a skyrocket of Survivor-esque, like, reality TV shows that are still scripted, but scripted by not real writers, and it's pretends like it's reality. And that, for probably a decade now, has been how TV has got. Only recently, like in 2015, and I think the writer's strike was 2004. Only recently have TV shows even started to show a little bit of interest in doing some more scripted things. Now there always was scripted shows, but the numbers are starting to slowly climb back up to what it was before, and the quality is starting to slowly climb back up. But in a lot of ways, cable has completely lost me in that I have no interest in watching any of those things. Plus, with Netflix being so popular now, you can just wait for a series to be completely done and watch it on Netflix. Or if it's a Netflix original, watch it on Netflix, of course. Anywho, that's going to be it for this weird conversation. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps me out. If you want to support me, you can click on my name, Rydo. On the right will be a blue button that says support this channel. Click it and make a donation. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.